The rules of today's challenge are simple. I don't want to leave any evidence. No shell casings, no bloodstains, no witnesses, no bodies left to rot in bins, nothing. Ideally, nobody on the map will even know my target died. I've done this challenge on Hitman 2 and 3 before, but Hitman 1 was undoubtedly the most challenging game of the series for reasons you'll see soon. But to mix it up today, I'm going to start out with the easiest mission and make my way to the hardest. So let's begin with Marrakesh. Marrakesh was shockingly simple. I have 2 targets across the map from each other and absolutely 0 places to properly hide them. Okay, there is the well, but I checked and I'm pretty sure it's impossible to get the bodies there without anyone noticing, so the next best thing is to make it look like a complete accident, which is easier said than done. 2 accidents to important people is awfully suspicious. So instead, they both need to die in the same accident. To do so, I sneak into the bank and trip the fire alarm, which causes one of the targets to evacuate and head to the other side of the map, which is a school that's been completely taken over by the military. Here, he meets up with my other target, but mostly keeps to himself in like a heavily guarded room. However, with a very precisely timed coin throw, I can get into the office with him. While his back is turned, I strangle him to knock him out, which would probably leave marks in an autopsy report, but I do have a plan for that. I use a wrench I stole from the military tunnels to loosen a gas canister, and then turn off the oil lamp on the table. When my other target walks in the room, he'll notice the unlit lamp, and right as he starts turning it on, I drag the other unconscious target right next to the gas canister, and they both blow up. This way, it looks like an accident, and his body would be so badly damaged from the explosion that the evidence wouldn't be conclusive enough to determine if he was strangled or not in an autopsy, I hope. From there, I sneak around a guard with some tight timings as they panic from the explosion, and make my way out of the mission and on to the next. And the next easiest was probably Colorado, which I imagine most of you were not expecting. But Colorado wasn't so much easy as it was completely impossible, so I figured it would go here. There are 4 targets on this mission and 0 places I can hide these bodies. The closest thing would be like a shallow bog in the back of the map, but I mean, that's not exactly a great hiding spot. So the next best thing is to make the deaths seem as accidental or unsolvable as possible. 2 of the 4 targets are pretty simple. I started out by sneaking into the top of a barn while 2 of my targets talked below. Then, as one leaves, I drop the hay bale on them to kill him in what appears to be an accident. After all, there are 2 guards up here. How could it have possibly been a murder if they didn't see anyone? Somehow, I'm able to sneak out without them noticing me and move on to my next target, who is not quite as easy to make look like an accident. I decided to plant a bomb in his watch and send a text message from the phone of a hacker in order to trigger it. Clearly, this one looks like a murder, but at least this way, it seems more likely that one of the hackers did it and I can frame them rather than it being an outsider. I'm not gonna lie, Colorado was definitely the map I think the whole getting away with murder concept was the most shaky on, but my next target was pretty convincing. I just caused an oil leak by a lawnmower that he smokes next to, and he just goes up in flames. Pretty convincing, I'd say. However, my final target was not. My final target was easily the least feasible of any of the kills I'm gonna get in this run. She is permanently being followed by 2 guards and has next to 0 accident opportunities that don't involve disguises. So what I did instead was shoot her with a sick dart, which fires with pressurized air, so it's not gonna leave shell casings. And then I throw an emetic grenade at her 2 guards, causing all 3 of them to go to different bathrooms to puke. Then, as she's puking, I drown her in the toilet. I then dump her body outside, and I just leave it in some bushes. There's nothing I can do here. Maybe like the bugs will eat her or something. I don't know. There's nowhere I can hide her. I tried dragging her to like the bog outside, and that's 100% impossible. There's too many guards. I guess I could have left her face down in mud, so maybe it looks like she tripped or something. Ideally, I'd put her in the swamp 15 feet away, but that's completely inaccessible and not possible. So, unfortunately, this is the best option. That's what I meant when I said she's not exactly a feasible target. However, the rest of the missions, I felt like I did pretty good. So let's move on to Hokkaido. And Hokkaido was interesting because one of my targets can't move no matter what, so I can't exactly hide the body. Also, since normally 47 is registered as a guest at this resort, I decided to spawn in the morgue. If people think I'm dead, they won't think I killed someone. And because of that morgue spawn, the mission gets off to a pretty easy start. I can trip the fire alarm and cause 2 guards to leave a very important room unattended. This room contains the heart for my target, and by throwing it in the garbage, I can effectively kill him without even seeing him. Does it look suspicious? Yes. But will they think the corpse did it? Probably not. Also, I know there are other ways of killing soders on this map, but they all involve hacking the sentient robot, and it will definitely remember me once it's back online. So I think this is the best idea. Finally, we can move on to my other target, who was actually like a normal target. She wasn't too bad, but there was one additional casualty. To kill her, I use an electronic key hacker to break into the room next to hers and climb on the ledge outside to get into her room. Then, right as she's about to come inside, I toss an emetic grenade at her 2 guards, causing them to both get sick and leave. I checked, and the emetic grenade does not leave any debris on the ground, so we're clear of evidence. Once she's inside, I tried distracting her other guard, but he won't move for anything for some odd reason. I tried using coins, leaving out weapons, nothing worked. She would report a weapon to him, and then he would just be like, that's crazy, and just keep standing there. So I tranq darted both of them and threw them off the cliff, where hopefully they won't be found, because there are not any other decent hiding spots on the map. Since we're in the snowy mountains, their body will probably be covered by snow within the day, so I think this is a pretty good hiding spot. From there, I take my leave, and from here on out, the levels get a lot harder. Bangkok is next on our list, and yet again, this one also had no feasible way for me to hide the bodies. There's an ocean, but there are so many people by it that it's completely impossible to get them there. Luckily, this level does have a built-in story mission that makes this way easier, where you can actually get one target to kill the other. The thing is, you need disguises for it, and I can't use those. Strangling someone and leaving them in a closet isn't exactly incognito and all. Oh, also, once again, this mission has 47 staying somewhere as a registered hotel guest, so I spawned in with the most common disguise to change that. Unfortunately, it's not going to help with getting the targets to kill each other, so I need to do something crazy. You see, the way the targets kill each other is just by them seeing each other, which is normally impossible without a disguise. Usually you have to do like a whole story mission, you have to like mess with some AC, it's a whole thing. And honestly, I thought it was impossible to pull off without that disguise, but I found an insane strat from a small channel called Trejebiat. I'm sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce it, but you see the name. And I never like using other people's strats for these videos. I think it's way more fun to try to find a completely original route, but I tried and I could not find a single alternative. So full credit to them. Here we go. The run starts with me stealing a cake topper from the kitchen before heading outside and climbing a pipe to get into a room that has my smuggled briefcase in it. I don't actually care about the item, all I want is the briefcase. I then take the cake topper to a room across the hotel where some people are having a surprise party for one of my targets. By placing the cake topper on the cake, it causes them to call my target down to start the surprise party. Once they start gathering, they all turn their backs to the window, and once they do, I place the briefcase in a very specific spot. When my target comes in, he's way more interested in the briefcase than the party happening for him, so he comes outside to investigate. I pick up the briefcase and move it a little further, then I throw a coin towards the balcony to get him to come look. As he does, I chuck the briefcase off the roof of the hotel. Naturally, the bad boy rock star thinks, oh, I should go check out this strange piece of litter and report it to the authorities immediately, and heads all the way to the entrance of the hotel to pick it up. As he does, he will see my other target and get pissed off, and from there he takes him to the top floor and pushes him out the window straight to the ground. Then I just give him a little push right after, and it looks like they either got in a fight and both fell, or he was so guilty from his actions that he jumped right out the window too. With that, the level is finished, and I head right out of the underground exit since the only other option is stealing a vehicle of some kind. I walked all the way to my next mission in Paris, and this one was such a pain. There's a perfectly good dumping ground outside the map in the canal, but it is so far away from my targets, and these people barely move. The targets' routes are so short compared to modern targets. Both of them visit like 5 places that always have like 15 people staring at them, and the only way to get them outside is by stealing a remote off a desk that controls the firework display. By setting off the fireworks, they'll both kind of go outside. But the problems don't end there. Before starting the show, I get a guard to come pick up the gun I brought with me. Don't worry, I'll steal it back before I go, so everyone will think he's just crazy. Then, I start the show and instantly tranq dart my target and throw her off the side of the balcony, before sliding all the way back down where my other target is outside, angrily ranting about why the fireworks show went off early. I toss an emetic grenade at his guard, and while he gets sick, I drag the first target to a very specific spot behind a gate. By the way, this might look easy, but you can get spotted by like 9 different people here, and without perfect movement and timing, the show will end early and you'll get spotted, so this took like an hour just to get them behind this gate. Anyways, now that she's hidden, I tranq my other target and drag him to the exact same spot just as the fireworks show ends, which means all the other guards resume patrol, and there are now like 8 different guards that can spot these bodies in various places around the garden. After almost another hour of trial and error, I found that I could move one target to a very specific spot to keep him hidden just long enough for me to drag my other target all the way to the canal and dump her in. Then I can wait out the timing on the guards and move within a tight window and dump my target into the canal. I know this looks easy, but I got spotted so many times. They're dead. I left through the gate. Can we move on now? Let's go to the most challenging level, Sapienza. Despite it definitely being harder, I actually liked Sapienza a lot more than Paris. The mission starts with me making a beeline to the very top of the map where my first target resides. I can actually get to her pretty easily, and as she walks outside with her guards, I make both of them sick with an emetic grenade, leaving her alone for me to strangle. Then I drag her along the rooftops all the way to the side of a cliff. Now, I can't actually get her into the ocean below from here, so for now, I just leave her right outside where no one will find her. Then, my other target wanders right into the room next to her, and I use my seeker to make him sick. He comes outside to puke, where I then knock out both him and his guard. Unfortunately, the guard's gotta go. Nothing I could do about it, he would end up spotting things, I couldn't get rid of him. Now for the hard part. I need to wait for a very specific window where 3 separate NPCs will not notice me chucking these bodies down to the pier below. We have the golf instructor up here, this dude, and this lady. Once all 3 aren't looking, which took like 15 minutes by the way, I dump all 3 off the cliff, which actually took way too many tries. They only land at the bottom like 20% of the time, and the rest of the time they get like caught on the side of the cliff and just sit there, and that's not very hidden. So I actually had to save in between each body to avoid it literally taking over an hour just to get them down the cliff. I sprint to the bottom and start dumping the bodies in the ocean in a very specific way. I start with 2 that I take all the way to the beach, and that is not the most hidden looking spot, but it's better than on the side of the cliff, I think. And as for the last one, I take him to the pier next to the fisherman. I would have taken all 3 targets here since it's way deeper water and just generally faster, but once you get close to the fisherman, one of them turns around, so only one body can go here or he'll immediately spot them. Will these bodies float to the surface or just get spotted since they're not really that deep in the water to begin with? Probably, but this is the best I've got. And maybe the Kraken will eat them. That's a canonical thing on this map. Anyways, it's on to the harder part, the third objective of this mission, destroying a virus deep underground. Luckily, I snagged a keycard from the room of one of my targets, so they'll probably think he just took it with him when he vanished. And I use it to head into the underground lab. Once here, I use the gun from the guard I knocked out to distract a different guard, and a propane flask to distract the second guard. Unfortunately, I'm not getting that gun back, so they will be very confused as to how it got there. Then I trip the fire alarm to cause everyone to panic, and in the panic, I run inside the containment facility and turn up the heat, causing the virus to be destroyed. As the alarm continues to blare, I use the chaos to escape undetected, which also took a bunch of tries, because the patterns the guards freak out in are totally random, and most of the time they see me. But I make my way back to the main area of the level and exit using a car that I'm pretty sure is mine, but I'm honestly not sure, thus completing the challenge. Probably not quite enough to fully get away with murder on most of the maps today, to be honest, but I think I did pretty good overall. It was a pretty fun challenge. Like I said, it took me forever, so I'm pretty happy with the results I got. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I stream variety content over on Twitch if you want to come check that out. Subscribe for more stuff like this in the future.